Boys, welcome back. Let's get right to the marquee game of the Sunday slate. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, House. The games are not spectacular. We do not have a repeat of last Sunday. We had the Ravens and the Steelers, and you had the Bills and the Chiefs, and you had the Chargers and the Bengals. Not as good a card, but that doesn't mean it can't be profitable. Doesn't mean we can't have some juicy games along the way. Green Bay laying 2.5 against San Francisco, to me, is a very fascinating line. Because if there's a team that is going to be more desperate going into the game, it's without question San Francisco, coming off that heartbreaking, gut-wrenching loss they had to Seattle. The Packers really should have lost last week, if we're being honest, to the Chicago Bears, got away with one, and added another win. I'm having a really hard time with this game, and I'm having a hard time because, to me, the Packers are not as good as their record, and I don't know where to feel and where to stand with San Francisco, who clearly is not as good as they were a year ago or in years past. I still think there's a different level they can get to as a group. I'll defer on this one. I'm kicking it to you guys. Right now, where do we stand on Niners? Packers, 2.5 is the number.
So I'm worried. And this would be a spot where I would love to jump on San Francisco. I think the number in favor of Green Bay is a kind of hedge because the news reports are that Purdy is hurt. There's a shoulder injury, and we know that Bosa, I don't know if they've declared him out yet, but there's no way we could see him playing based on the status that came out of Sunday. So if Bosa is out and Purdy is limited, I'm honestly concerned that Purdy's going to play at all, in which case this is going to go all the way up to, I don't know, Dream, what, 4.5? Green Bay by something much bigger than the 2.5. So now it's a stay away because we don't know. Purdy is a tough dude. I think it would be a great spot to be on Green Bay. I think it's right to be, on San Francisco. I think it's right to be skeptical of Green Bay. I'm still waiting. Other than the enormous turnover generation that they've had on defense, I don't think we've really seen them. It's not what I would call a tough defense, and I'm still looking for opportunities to fade Green Bay. Love, again, still not in the form that we saw the latter half of last season, but with the injury concerns with San Francisco, Dream, it's a stay away for me.
I hate both of these teams. I wish it was possible that they were playing other opponents so I could bet against both of them. And, the interesting thing about both of these teams is that if you look at red zone touchdown percentage, the 49ers are 26. They're only converting 48% of their 41 red zone attempts. Guess who's 27th? The Green Bay Packers. They're converting 48% of their 39 red zone trips. So both of these teams, they can get into the red zone and then they can't punch it in. So when you have that, you have all of these situations where both of these teams continue to stall out. And I think the equalizer here is home field advantage, the fact that Nick Bosa is hurt. And we saw when Nick Bosa went out of that game last week against the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith took over. So if they're not generating a pass rush, they're in trouble against Jordan Love and this Packers team. And Jordan Love hasn't been particularly well. House, he hit on the key point that Jordan Love hasn't been the quarterback that we saw in the second half of last season. So I think you need to be looking Packers or pass at this point in time, especially when you look at the Brock Purdy injury. But the market has that priced in already. So that's where I would be looking. But me personally, I'm not betting on any of these teams. But I will say there's a reason. Right now, you look at the San Francisco 49ers. They are 5-5. They're tied for second place in the NFC West, which is basically last place because everybody's tied except for the Arizona Cardinals. There's a reason why on FanDuel Sportsbook, they're minus 210 to miss the postseason.
And the schedule is brutal for San Francisco. Absolutely brutal. They have this game coming up. They have a trip to Buffalo coming up. They have a trip to Miami coming up. They play the Lions later on this year. There are a lot of treacherous games for San Francisco to the point where, guys, I remember back in week 4, week 5, whatever it was a Thursday night game against Seattle, the one in Seattle. Took the Niners at even money to win the division. I felt great about it until I watched that Sunday game against Seattle. The way I see things now, I don't feel particularly good about San Francisco getting it back on track to go and win this division. Now, we're going to stay in the
let me add
NFC
one. Let me add one thing before we move on.
Sure.
If you like San Francisco in this game,
bet them to win the division.
No. If you like San Francisco in this game, you could take the Green Bay Packers plus 360 plus 350 or so on FanDuel Sportsbook to miss the postseason, because this is kind of like a de facto playoff game. Whoever loses this game is in trouble because both of these two teams are chasing wild card spots. Now, I know San Francisco can actually win their division, but the way it's going right now with them losing all of their divisional games, this is a wild card playoff game.
Fascinating angle, and you're not wrong about that, because the Lions are going to win the North, and the tiebreakers for San Francisco are not advantageous. They lost to Arizona already. They split with Seattle, and they lost to the Los Angeles Rams. So it's going to require a whole lot of maneuvering and a whole lot of real good football for the Niners to win a division. You might be onto something there, Raheem.